Okay guys, welcome and hello. We're going to go ahead and actually do a thing with Revoki.Tiberious, who is a Terran that we're basically focusing on this entire time because he's actually with me saying hello because we're going to be doing this video for his new project of getting to Diamond. So why don't you just say hello and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everybody. This is Rev.Tiberius. I'm one of the managers of Team Revoki, and I spent most of my time managing the team. However, I've also developed the ambition to eventually make it to Diamond League, and I hope that these videos, which are meant to analyze my replays, are going to help me get there eventually, because I think I have the potential to be, at least a Diamond League player, but I still make too many simple mistakes, so I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it.
Very cool. So now, this is a TvP that you're playing. Your opponent is this guy, tKv. I'm assuming this was a ladder game?
Yes, this is a recent ladder game of mine. For the longest time, TvP was really frustrating for me, because I would kind of, one Rex fast expand and then always lose the macro battles, even when I was ahead or even far ahead in supply. So this game here is, I've recently switched to Banshees, and this game is one of the first games where I tried that, and I just want to look at it again and see how it played out.
Alright, so now you're going for Banshees. Do you know what your approximate build order and what you're really going to be using those Banshees for throughout the game?
Well, I haven't really decided what to do. I could either go for cloak and then like some serious harass, or just no cloak and then keep the opponent busy for a while until I have enough units ready for a push. But quite frankly, I'm not familiar with the exact build orders yet, and I know I need to read up on that on Team Liquid or somewhere else.
Okay. All I know is that right now I'm kind of looking at you and your two SCVs that are just outside your base and just hanging out down there.
Yeah, they're coming back now. I have that sometimes on maps like this where the cliff kind of hides the units, and I don't know what I was doing there, but sometimes simple stuff like that costs me a few seconds here and there, and yeah, I have a lot of basic mechanics that I still need to improve.
Alright, so now we can take a look at your hockey setup right now. At the moment you only have your command center hockey to 3. What generally is the hockey setup that you use?
Usually I use 1 and 2 is for units, 3 is for all command centers, 4 is for barracks, 5 is for factories, and 6 for starports.
Alright.
And in fact, in the blog where this video will be linked, just last night I wrote a long section about how I use hotkeys and what I want to do better about it. And I think I have a lot of potential there as well. I don't think I use hotkeys nearly as well as I should.
Okay, well that's already great that you're already splitting them onto more than one hockey instead of falling to what a lot of players do, which is just having a single hockey for every single unit, which is a very easy trap to fall into. Do you have a background in Brood War or any other RTSs?
I used to play StarCraft 1 for a while, on and off for actually ever since it came out, but I never really got very far with it. And the reason why I feel better in StarCraft 2 is because it helps you with simple mechanics more, like you can group buildings and all that kind of stuff. So I think it makes it better for people like me who don't have the pro gamer APM.
Alright, so that is definitely a good aspect that you can take advantage of. So I'm taking a look at what you're doing right now, and so far it's looking pretty solid. Do you want me to just try and make little tiny suggestions throughout the game as to what I see that you might be able to improve?
Yeah, sure.
Alright, well, the first thing is that your gas is very, very high right now, with the 300 gas after you started building the Banshee. That could probably mean you could delay your second refinery a bit longer, or use this for cloak, because this is looking a lot like a cloak Banshee build order with that earlier gas.
Yeah, I haven't really made up my mind about cloak, because on the one hand it's obviously very, very useful, but on the other, by the time you have cloak, there's at least one observer out. So, I mean, there's one in my base right now. So, yeah.
All right. But some more.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say that some more possibilities with the cloak is that if your opponent has an expansion, which usually they will have at least building by this point, tKv is just going for a very odd 3-gate robo with a forge build, which means that you'd be able to have 2 banshees out by the time cloak finishes or around that time, which means you can have 1 banshee in the main attacking, cloaking, and then the natural could also get harassed. But right now, your Banshee's coming in right now, and it's going to take out at least 1 probe, so 1 probe goes down, then you just retreat from the Stalkers. Yeah, so you do get 1 probe kill, which is nice. The problem is, in a normal situation, if your opponent went for like a 3-gate expand or a 1-gate expand, you'd be a little bit behind in terms of macro. I would actually have hoped to see that you were building a command center at some point, because having it being past the 8-minute mark and without a command center, I kind of think you could sneak it in there.
Yeah.
And that could be actually another add-in part. If you delay your gas and decide to go no cloak, there should definitely be a faster command center in there, because then you could have a couple more 100 minerals devoted to that command center.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because as of right now, it looks like you're going for like a pretty much a 1-1-1 with the Banshees, the tanks, and the Marines without an expo.
Right. It's just because I've lost so many macro games versus Protoss that somehow I'm really scared to engage like a big macro Protoss army. So I don't know, right now my thinking is that I need to just finish the games before the supply count gets too high. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay, a thing about macro games as Terran is that you really need to scout more in order to be able to realize if you need to get Vikings or upgrades or any of those things. Because as of looking at your vision right now, your only scouting is basically from that 1 Banshee. And then now we're at 9 minutes and 52 seconds into the game, and you're basically setting up a contain in a position that you don't even know if you should be in, because you have no idea if he has a natural, his unit composition, or what he's going for. So you can probably get a scan going or something to figure out what he's going to be doing, but as of right now, he's moving down to the middle map, and he's going to be able to completely flank you.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, and sneaking in command centers is a great thing you can do. There's also, you can probably check out a build where you get 3 orbital commands by like the 8-minute mark, and you just stay on 2 bases, and you just produce SCVs and mules off of that in order to really be economically ahead in the Protoss and you'll basically just have a stronger economy than your opponent would really suspect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another aspect that I see is that 11 minutes into the game, you have 28 SCVs only, which is perfect for 1 base, but while we're actually just looking at your battle, you're losing 1 Banshee in the front. You're not kiting your Marines. That's definitely something you need to do. You should be pulling back and letting all your siege tanks deal damage, letting your bunker actually take effect, because as of right now, your Banshees with your vision in the high ground are away. You're losing a siege tank. So you have a great position, you're just not sticking with it. You're trying to get greedy and taking out his army, which is something you can definitely avoid doing, and keep your units more alive, because you've lost 2 siege tanks for free, and now you're finally scanning to kill off the Stalkers, but there's just too many, and you're going to end up losing these units.
Yeah. Yeah, this is something like just multitasking, and like I was microing my units in the center, and it only took a couple of seconds to lose the tank and the bunker on the left. So sometimes I'm just not fast enough for stuff like that.
Yeah. Your APM's 50, and you're spamming right now, running around like going up to over 100 at times. Now you're at 150, so you can still hit buttons. But something you need to think about more than hitting buttons is switching screens. APM is a nice indicator, but a real thing that would be nice to tabulate is how many times you just switch where you're looking with your camera, because that will really show you what you're able to really see and be aware of, and it's a lot more useful than just hitting buttons. So if you can just try to switch your screen, whether it's clicking on the mini-map or just going to this control group, then that control group, and going back and forth, it'll really help your just awareness of the game, and it'll make you see more and realize what you need to be doing. But right now you're doing nice harassment. You've got your Banshees about to kill that forge. You're scanning, you take out that observer, which is very, very nice. I've noticed you've been able to scan a few times and take out observers, which is a great technique to have. But it really seems like...
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, I know that a lot of players seem to have trouble taking out observers, but that never really bothered, like, that was never a challenge for me. I have other problems, but, like, spotting and taking out observers is not something I have difficulties with. It's just basic mechanics and micro that I struggle with.
Yeah. And actually, you don't have stim or combat shield or any upgrades whatsoever for any of your units. That's definitely something you're going to need, especially once you start getting the 15-minute mark. And Protoss has Chrono Boost for upgrades, which is something you really need to be aware of. So you can easily throw down an engineering bay at like the 7 or 8 minute mark and just keep on getting a upgrade from that. And then when your armor is just say halfway done, you can throw down a you can go to an armory and easily just continue working on the +2 attack. And before you know it, you're 12 minutes into the game and you have 2-1 or something, and you're ahead of your opponent in upgrades.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I'm also looking around more, and you still haven't seen his natural expansion. It doesn't hurt if you have an SEV or a Marine just running forward and just darting into the natural. Even if you think, oh, he's going to die, he probably has an expansion, you still need to confirm that, because you have to be certain that it's happening, and he's not just going for some crazy one base all-in with 3 Colossi or something.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So right now you're almost getting lucky in terms of macro, because he ended up canceling his Nexus earlier on, giving you the advantage of the one base with mules versus his just saturated one base with probes. But there's a lot of good things that I'm really seeing. You're getting your 3rd command center. You've got a nice composition of units. You just need to improve their unit strength individually by getting upgrades for them.
Yeah, I noticed that in a lot of my all-in builds where I think the game is over so soon that there's no point in getting upgrades for the Marines and Marauders, but actually it's worth it, definitely.
Yeah, it really is. And also a very, very difficult thing to do when you're trying to get better is resisting the temptation to go for all-in builds. If you try and go for a macro build every single game, and you never ever cheese, your gameplay is forced to become so much more solid all around, because you can't do things like going for a 1-1-1 where it's just one base simply producing out of a barracks, a factory, a starport, and then just attacking. If you go for those macro builds, like say you just go for every single game with a 1 Rax expand, and then you have to respond accordingly, see what your opponent is doing, react, and just be efficient in that manner. It's definitely a great tool to improving your own macro and getting out a lot of those fundamentals.
Yeah. That's how I play my TVTs. I go for very long games just to practice exactly what you were saying.
Okay, and it's actually more important for your TvP, because you're saying it's a weakness of yours.
Yeah.
Go for the Banshee building, but get that command center very, very quickly, and use the Banshees to contain your opponent inside his base. Force him to be defensive while you can just simply out-macro him, because you're forcing passivity out of him, because he has to defend the Banshees. And right now you're just attacking the front. You're doing a good job of it, too. You're in a nice position, your siege tanks are there. And looks like you're actually going to try and hit that expansion on the right. And I like that you're only using a small amount of units. That's a very, very good thing to do. He's obviously has no capability to defend that base, and you're in a great position to force him to move, and that's exactly what he's doing. And you should be able to take advantage of this nicely with your position. And he does call it GG, so that is a very, very good positional advantage that you just gave yourself.
Yeah.
Alright, so now, looking at this game once again, now that you've been able to look at the replay and see everything that was done, what are your thoughts about you and doing a little bit better in the next game, considering what I've said and what you've seen?
Yeah, well, actually, it felt a lot easier and more straightforward when I was playing the game. I thought this was kind of like an easy game, and there was nothing much to it. But based on some of the stuff that you have pointed out, there's actually a lot of things that I can do better. So I guess getting the earlier command center and maybe getting the gas a little later. I know that when I went into this game, I didn't really have an exact plan when to make this starport, when to make banshees, when to, get more buildings. So I guess I need to read up on exact build orders and timings, and then just execute that.
Alright, that would definitely be a good thing to do. If I had to pick your two biggest faults in this game, personally the first one is going to be your lack of SCV production. Because if you produce an SCV off of one base every 17 seconds, like its build time is, you will be getting out your maximum count of SCVs for one base so much quicker than you actually did. Because at the end of the game, you have 34 SCVs. He killed 6 SCVs total, which means you would have had 40 SCVs total in a 19-minute game. In a 19-minute game, there's no reason not to have 70 SCVs built at minimum.
Yeah, fair enough. And that's actually another weakness I've wrote about at great length in my blog. I always end up with too few SCVs, and I don't really know. I just don't understand it, because I often have units like now at the closing stream. I see that I have units queued up in almost all my production buildings, but and in my orbital commands as well, even. But for some reason, I never make enough SCVs.
Something you can do just to help yourself being able to produce more is if you basically just watch your screen hopping, so you can then therefore literally see the build timer on your orbital command and watch your mules. You should always have an SCV produced. Do you actually have it so you see the health bars and everything always on?
Yeah, I do.
So then you should be able to look at your orbital command whenever you look at your base and see if that production timer is going off.
Right. Yeah, I can try doing that.
Yeah. All right, and the other thing that I would say is just upgrades.
Yeah.
Stim, combat shield, concussive shells, the plus attack, plus armor, and especially if you're going to go for this army composition of tanks, marines, and banshees, after your sort of 1-1-1 timing window is closed, you're then all of a sudden going to be dying very, very quickly to High Templar and Colossus. And you need to be more resilient, you need to be able to kill things faster, and those upgrades then become much, much, much more important than they would be in just a 1-1-1 situation.
Yeah, I've experienced that more than enough in like a lot of games. That's true. Another thing is maybe another thing I want to work on is just pumping out units more, because like right now at the end of the game I have like 1,000 minerals and 300 gas, and I could have like built a lot more units with that.
Yeah, and a scary thought is you have that much money left over with only a little over 30 SCVs mining.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having double that, 3 more bases, producing mules, and having a 2,000 plus income every single minute, and then trying to produce off of that?
Yeah, that's true.
And that is basically a pro gamer macro at that point. And if you can just think about that and just really, really efficiently using your hotkeys and everything like you have a setup for, you can really develop your gameplay quite quickly.
Yeah.
So now, do you have any closing words for your video?
No, not really. I have a lot of food for thought here and stuff that I can focus on in subsequent games, and yeah, that's it. So thanks very much, and I'm looking forward to the next replay.
Yep, no problem. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing your gameplay improve, so thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.